Today, we're going to be talking about standing posture and gait. We want to make sure that when we're standing, we're in good alignment. Our spine is kind of like a spring, lengthening up nice and long, putting our ear, our shoulder, our hip, our knee, and then our ankle all kind of into alignment to keep all of that nice in alignment. The spring kind of holds the weight of the body. We don't want to roll our shoulders back too far because that loads our low back and releases the abdominals. But we want to think about keeping the abs engaged, but we don't want to go too far and slump down and create a kyphotic upper body and compress again in that low back L5, S1. You can get a lot of discomfort that way. But you want to think about a lot of length. So you're basically going to start with the knees not locked, but a little bit soft, especially if you have hyperextended knees. For women, our hips are slightly tipped down, but we don't want to tip too far forward because we'll put too much curve in that lumbar. And then for men, our hips tend to be a little bit more flat between the ASIS and PSIS, but it's not a huge deal. They're pretty similar. We want our feet to be hip distance apart, not too wide. Our heels are actually kind of measured from the insides. So we don't want to roll out or in, but we want our ankles to be nice and underneath our hips. So our heels are in line with our sit bones. So neither pronated or supinated. We want to look down at first to make sure our feet are parallel and about hip distance apart. A lot of times, especially if we've been standing out of alignment for a long time, parallel is hard or a little bit tricky to find. So we want to think about that kind of engagement of the legs and the quads, the zipping up of the pelvic floor, the opening of the collarbones, both from the shoulder blades, from the spine of the scapula and the shoulder blades out to the sides, and that we're not squeezing our butt and tucking under, but we're kegling, which is a pelvic floor engagement. For men, it's going to feel like you're jumping into cold water. Everyone has a lifting sensation from underneath. We're pressing down through the big toes, pulling up through the quads, finding that gentle ab connection running about between 20 and 40%. We're going to start to approximate our abs. So we're going to pull that abdominal structure and lengthen the transverse without kind of going back into our low backs. But with that transverse abdominals, that deep layer of abdominals that kind of wrap the spine, that's what you want to find, and you want to find it lengthening and opening, finding a length through the striation muscle. And then from the top of the head, I'm going to shift slightly forward from my ankle bone, not from my pelvis, not from my hips. I'm not hinging and wiggling and woggling. No. I want to think about finding that alignment. And especially when I'm first trying to find my alignment and find that I'm not trying to rest in my low back, I lift up through the back of my ears, and then 60% of my weight is forward and 40 is back. So from the crown of the head, there's a very slight shift forward, not too far, not 70, 60%. It's a light forward so that you find the abdominal connection. You can kind of take it a little too far sometimes, but you want to make sure that you're grounding through the heel, finding that engagement, and then you lift through the abdominal structure as you find that nice, gorgeous connection, and you find that stability in that length of the spine, creating that nice spring that is your spine nice and long. And then it kind of propels you forward as you walk. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about walking. So when I walk, I again want to keep that abdominal connection, and I want to shift forward from the crown of the head, almost like I'm going to start running, and then I'm going to articulate by lifting the knee and articulating through the foot. I'm almost like I'm about to start running forward. Sometimes a light jog is easy to feel. We don't want to go too much into our hips, but we really want to use our knees, and it feels more like marching at first. It feels kind of weird. Of course, at the beginning, it always feels a little bit awkward, but you want to feel like you're lifting your knees and letting your arms propel. I'm leaning forward to create that connection. So I'm not hyperextending or dropping back and shuffling along, not lifting up my feet. Nope. I really want to think about finding that abdominal connection. I also don't want to shuffle and drop into my low back, arching my back and sticking out my booty. Again, that creates kind of a disalignment in that spring that is our spine. And any spring that is kinked and has lots of pressure on it, you can get wear and tear on specific joints. So that lifting up. So we're really going to articulate, and we're not tiptoeing. We're not like boop, 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 but we want to think about propelling ourselves forward. We want to think about our heel ball toe, heel ball toe, heel ball toe. There's that moment, that amount of pressure kind of comes from the back foot. It's coming from the push from the back toe. As my heel comes forward, my right foot, that front foot that's in front, right there through the ball mound, pushes me forward, finding that propelling me forward. So here again, I have my parallel, open collarbones, pelvic floor, lengthening and widening, and I'm pushing forward, using that back foot to find that nice, beautiful march and propelling gait forward. I hope you enjoy this, and please check it out, my website, for more questions.